like to call to order the meeting of the Oconee County Board of Zoning Appeals for Monday, March 28th, 2022. First item on the agenda is approval of minutes from 2/28/22.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Any corrections? Anything out of order on that? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes, please raise your hand. Say aye.
Aye.
That's 6-0. 6 of us here tonight. 6-0. Okay. Those of you who haven't been to our meetings before, the way we proceed is we start out with a presentation by the requester of the variance. They get to say, why they want the variance. I'd like to hold that to 5 minutes if we can. I'll then ask for comments from staff if they have any comments on in general about the request. Then we'll open the comments up to the public for you folks out there. If you want to say anything in favor of, against the proposal, I'd like to hold each comment to 3 minutes if we can. And please be aware of what's been said before you. And if it's already been said, let's not repeat ourselves. We've got the capability here of being here until 9 o'clock tonight if everyone wants to have their say. So please don't be repetitive. That said, I said clearly, I want everybody to have something to say if you want to say it. If you feel you need to say it, please come up and say it. We don't bite. You're welcome to come to the podium and give us your view. But just be considerate of others. Be considerate of our time, your time, everyone's time. Speak only to the board. Please don't speak to the requester of the variance or other people. Speak only to the board. We don't need side conversations or side arguments, that kind of thing. And I guess the only other thing I'd say is I've had one instance where someone came up after the meeting and said, hey, you didn't think of this. Well, we're just ordinary Joes up here. We don't think of everything. If it's not presented to us during the meeting, we aren't going to think of it, probably. And we just aren't going to consider it in our decision. So if you got something to say and it hasn't been said yet, raise your hand. I've got a list here of people who've asked to talk. If it hasn't been brought up, raise your hand and we'll catch you at the end of the meeting. Okay, following citizen comment, the applicant will have a chance to say something. If there's been comments against their proposal, the applicant will get to say something. And that'll be it. We're going to go back and forth. So the applicant will have something to say and then we'll take the whole matter under consideration. Okay, so without further ado, let me see. Ms. Parker?
Yes.
Yes. Would you like to address the board, please?
Yes. Good evening. My name is Dr. Monica Milasnovich Parker, and I am a small animal veterinarian. I'm also a native of Oconee County, going back many generations. I've lived out of the area for a while, and my husband and I are wanting to return to the area. And I'm requesting that we have a change of use of the building that's located at 8233 Rochester Highway in Salem. I want to change it. Currently, it was an old Wells Fargo building, and I'd like to make it a veterinary practice. I want to go over some of the services that we're going to offer so that you'll know what the purpose of the business would be. The services included would be well visits, sick visits. I do perform surgery on small animals as well, preventative care, nutritional counseling. We would provide small animal medications for our patients only. And we're going to also offer some cutting edge new technologies that some vets in the area don't have. So just a little bit about myself. I've been a veterinarian for 21 years. I've been practicing small animal medicine for that length of time. I'm also a property owner in Kiewee, and of course you know Kiewee adjoins this property. So I do have a vested interest in keeping the property nice and in its current state of maintenance and upkeep, so it will be very nice. I did want to demonstrate, just let you know about the need that I have found through research. This is demographic research as well as word of mouth, as well as social media research. I did a survey on Nextdoor and found that the area is very excited about having a new vet office. The demographics as far as households that have pets, there's 65 to 75% of the households have either a dog or a cat. So the need is definitely there. I've also found that the nearest vet clinic to this is 10 miles in Walhalla and 12 miles in Seneca. So it really is a dead zone, if you want to call it, for veterinary services. People are having to drive to those locations, but I've also found that people are driving outside of Oconee County. I have a neighbor who drives actually to Raleigh, North Carolina to take his pet back to the vet because he can't find appropriate services in Oconee. We also have folks here that live in 6 Mile that go to Easley to the vet. And so I really feel like this clinic will draw from those areas and draw some business into Oconee that it's not currently getting. Currently those citizens are driving outside of the area. I did want to quickly address the 4 stipulations that you guys are going to vote on tonight. That's section 38, 7.2, the special exception that I have to meet. Number 1, that property is zoned community commercial district already. And if you refer to the zoning matrix, a veterinary office is allowed within that zoning already. So it is a permitted use of that building. So it wouldn't be changing the zoning, it would be changing the use. And the reason we're having to have this meeting, as I understand it, is because it does fall within the Lake Huey, Jocassee overlay area. So I have to come before you and explain what we would be doing to change it. So I'll just go over the 4 sections that you guys are going to vote on. Number 1, it has to show that it meets with the comprehensive plan, that it is in the spirit, the purpose, and intent of the special requirements of the chapter, to include the definition and intent of the district. So I think through what I've already said, I've shown you that a vet office is needed in that area. The services are not being provided currently. And so that would meet with the definition of the comprehensive plan for number 1. One part of this, Wells Fargo has requested that the ATM remain in effect, stay where it is on the property and stay operating. And I've agreed to that through our contract negotiations. So you guys have to agree to it as well to have it stay there. There is a restriction on the deed that property cannot be any financial services unless they're provided by Wells Fargo for a period of 2 years. So that's already in effect on the deed. Number 2, you have to show that it's in the best interest, the convenience of the community, and the public welfare. I do think this is in the county's best interest because I think that we're going to keep tax dollars in the county and we're going to bring new tax dollars into the county with this business. And the convenience, it would be very convenient for those folks in the lake communities so that they don't have to drive elsewhere to have veterinary services. Number 3 is that it's suitable for the property in question, and the appearance of the building is going to remain the same. The outside layout of the building is going to remain the same. There will be no visible difference to the building from the road, from the outside. So it will be kept in the manner that it has been kept by the bank. There will be no outside boarding kennels. There will be no free access of dogs to the outside. We will not be a boarding facility, but saying that, I can't promise you that an animal won't spend the night there because we are going to be a hospital. So sometimes sick animals have to spend the night in the hospital. They have to stay on IV fluids. So I have no prediction of that. But there will be no dogs let outside into a fenced area, allowed to be out there on their own. That's not going to happen. So they will always be on a leash with either a technician or a doctor attached to the leash. We are also going to keep the drive-through as it is now, the lane that is closest to the building. because that's going to be a convenience for the customers to be able to pick up medications through that drive-through. We're not going to put chihuahuas through the drawer, but we're going to put medications through there. Also, there is an area, there's a small knoll attached to the back of the building. I will have to put a privacy fence there for liability reasons. My insurance says that the dogs have to be walked within a leashed area, within a fenced area on a leash. So that material of that fence will either be nice iron fencing or a nice wooden fence. It's not going to be chain link fence or a wire fence or chicken wire. It will be very nice. Finally, the traffic flow pattern is going to remain exactly the same. We'll have the same entrance and exits that the bank has currently, and the traffic flow will go behind the building to access the ATM just as it does right now. So that's not going to change. The parking layout will stay the same. The number of clients per hour will be about the same as a bank would have, 2 to 3 to 4 per hour. So I don't expect it to be a high trafficked area. And the bank, the building currently conforms to the Appendix A of the zoning ordinance. So, of course, the signage would be appropriate for that as well, but that hasn't been decided yet because we had to get through this hearing first. I do want to address the concern, and I've gone over that quickly, from some citizens about the dogs. Again, there'll be no outside boarding, no outside kennels, so that should not be an issue. The business model that I'm using for this is the same that you would see in a vet office that might be in a strip shopping mall attached to a Publix or a large anchor store. I have had colleagues that have had those offices, and there's no complaints from the neighbors within those facilities. So I also want to just bring your attention to the letter that is from Keowee Utility Board that was in your packet. We did have a meeting and we discussed water usage. We discussed what type of cleaning products I would use. And they were comfortable after our discussion in saying that they would continue to provide the water and the sewer for that building. So there should be no change there as well. And they feel like it would be an asset to the community. So I thank you for your time. Hopefully I'm within my 5-minute limit. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Parker. Does the staff have any comments on this request?
A few general comments. I have the zoning pulled up in front of you guys on the screens there for CDZ, for community commercial, with the definition and the intent, so you can review that. It's also in your packet. The request, the change is from a financial service to an agricultural support. And the additional change is to go from a single use to a shared use. By keeping the ATM, it's a shared use as an agricultural support and back to financial service as well. You can vote on all those at one time.
So my understanding is, the reason we're doing this is because this lies within the lake overlay.
Correct.
It has nothing to do with zoning, per se. It has to do with the lake overlay. The
Correct.
fact that we're changing a non-residential use within the lake overlay.
Yes.
You can't, just because you have this non-residential use already approved, you can't change to another non-residential use without coming before the board.
Correct.
Okay.
Happy to answer any other questions for the board.
Any questions from,
If they were to add outbuildings at some point in time, would they have to come before the board?
Yes.
They would, okay?
Any additional
You couldn't go and just get a normal building permit, they'd have to come back and,
If they're doing an additional construction on, it would still be community commercial, so they would have to go through this process again.
just so everyone knows, if we were to approve this variance request, we can approve it with conditions that have to be met. Whatever we may feel appropriate based on what various people say. So we have that ability to approve it with conditions. So you might want to address that if you want in your comments. Okay. First person up for comment is Mr. Hugh Pearson.
Good evening. I'm Hugh Pearson, and I'll be short, promise. I have known Dr. Parker now for almost 3 years. I moved to Keowee then, She lives 2 doors down from me. I know her to be a good vet. I know her to be a really good neighbor. You will find her walking her dog, talking with the neighbors, talking about ways to make our neighborhood work better. But I think you see that demonstrated in her sensitivity to keeping the money machine, the ATM there. You see her demonstrating the sensitivity to noise and the concern over that with no outside boarding. I have a boat in Spinnaker Cove, which is right behind this building. And I can tell you that the neighbors are really nice there. You see them walking their dogs, all waving. They have a good sense of community. And I don't think that any noise from this proposed vet hospital would be any greater than the noise you would have from your neighbors and your neighborhood animals there. And finally, I would say that I've had a career, decades long, of hospital turnarounds. And I know that if you have an unused building, that's a problem for your community. This is a good use of that building. And I would say that I'm not aware of a use that would continue the volume of traffic through there. If you had a convenience store, you're gonna have a lot more noise and a lot more volume of traffic through there. And I go up and down 183 every day. I don't want any more traffic than we really need. So that would be my position. Any questions, sir?
All set, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Harry Toupee? Did I guess that right?
Close.
We'll buy that tonight.
Huh?
We'll buy that tonight.
Okay. I live here in Keweenaw also as a member of the South Carolina Dog Therapy Group and as a owner of a aging dog. I didn't realize we were as close as 12 miles to Walhalla or to these other places. I personally go down to Pendleton because of the doctor down there. But I have to be down there, and a lot of us have to go every couple of months. When the dogs were puppies, we could go every 2 years for their shots. And I'm excited about the fact that it'll be so close. It'll be easy access, very fast. But I'm in favor of it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Stephen Parker?
I'm the husband, so.
I'm a little slow this morning. Sorry, Steve. I'm a little slow. Rhonda Grant.
Good evening. As he just said, my name is Rhonda Grant. I am a resident of Oconee County. Thank you for affording me this opportunity to share my support of Dr. Parker. I've known Monica for 45 plus years. She and I have been friends since 3rd grade, which is almost unheard of. I know her only to be a loyal, compassionate, and trustworthy person. She's dedicated to family, friends, her community, and most definitely her 4-legged clients. She is a person of her word and one that can always be counted on to leave things better than she found them. She has a heart for Oconee County. As evidenced by her and her family's actions 2 years ago when the tornado ravaged our county, they drove up from Somerville to come and volunteer to help during the cleanup because they love this area so much. So we're excited to have them wanting to move back home. The proposal before you tonight will be an excellent use of this property, and it will benefit the surrounding community. As someone that has driven by that empty building for years, it will be an asset to have it inhabited by a new business in our county. Furthermore, as already stated, there's no other veterinary clinic in this area. The closest ones are either in Seneca or Walhalla. So this clinic will provide a needed service to the residents in that area. So I urge the board to approve this special exception application for the new Kiwi Animal Hospital. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Doug Hettinger.
Yes, good evening. My name is Doug Hettinger. I'm the president of the Windward Point Property Owners Association. In case you're not familiar with Windward Point, we are a neighborhood of 117 property owners, and we're immediately across the street from Dr. Parker's potential office. Last week, I had the opportunity to talk to Dr. Parker, and I was favorably impressed with her professional experience and her plans for this location. Our neighborhood supports her zoning request. Depending if the BZA board formally documents this location will not have, now or in the future, any external animal pens, runs, boarding, routine boarding, or doggy daycare. Again, this would be now or in the future. I appreciate your time, and thank you.
Thank you. Kevin McCracken.
Thank you. My name's Kevin McCracken. I'm the general manager at Kiwi Key, and I'm here representing the KKPOA Board, Kiwi Key Property Owners Association Board, and the Kiwi Key Utility Systems Board. And as Dr. Parker noted, the Kiwi Key Utility Systems Board has agreed to continue to provide both water and sewer service at this location. I would say that in my conversations with Dr. Parker, she has been very receptive and very amenable to any questions that I've had and that the board's had, and she did also meet with both boards of directors, so I want to thank her for that. I know you mentioned not repeating what other folks have said, but I do think I need to mention the concerns of the KKPOA Board of Directors and the KUKUS Board of Directors, and that is that there be no outdoor dog runs, no boarding on premises other than ill animals, those recovering from surgery, and no pet or dog kennels. The other concern that I would note is that in the area that Dr. Parker mentioned where there would be walking of dogs before and after perhaps they come into the facility, that the animal waste is collected, and because of its proximity to the lake, we want to be sensitive to that as well. The only other issue that I might mention is the lighting. At that location, we weren't very successful working with Wells Fargo to help us with some of those lighting concerns. But the residents in Spinnaker Cove that do back up to this facility have some concerns about the parking lot lighting, and if that lighting could be shielded in any manner or vegetation planted on that back property line, I think we would find that helpful as well. So those are the only comments that I had. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let me see, it looks like Scott Lander Sanders. Scott Sanders.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
I'm better at putting pen to paper than I am speaking sometimes, but I would like to say what a benefit this would be for the upper reaches of the county as far as convenience. Saying that, you will also be getting a steward of the community. Monica's family, my family, well, some of the others that are back there with us, we go back many generations in Oconee County, and what Monica has said about all the specifications that she is going to follow with the no outside kenneling, And as to my knowledge, the walking area, there will be doggy bags there to take care of the waste, so there shouldn't be an issue with runoff or anything like that. I know we weren't supposed to reference what others have said, but I was part of the coordinating team at Shaver when the tornado went through Seneca. Monica and her family, whole family, showed up to help at least for 2 weeks when they could get up here. So not only will you be getting a great business and an asset to the community, you'll be getting a steward of the community as well. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Jim Hamby.
Sir, I represent the 6 Mile area of Pickens County. We had an opportunity, my wife and I, to meet Dr. Parker at Lowe's several weeks ago, about a month ago. And, well, I don't know if she wanted to meet my golden retriever more than she wanted to meet us, but very impressed with her demeanor and how she attracted to my dog and how my dog responded to her. My wife and I have to take our dog to Easley, and going into Easley in the 123 traffic is just horrendous. But look forward to having her veterinarian facility here if y'all do approve that, and we'll be coming from 6 Mile area as needed for my dog, and quite useful. Never seen a veterinarian and a bank work so closely together. So I think that's a golden opportunity for Oconee County right there to really expand on that. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ron Selensik? At least get close.
No, you got it.
Okay.
My question is on the facility itself, and it's a question, maybe it should be addressed to the applicants, but will the facility have a crematory associated with it, or installed in it?
Oh, well, okay, we're not going to have conversation now. You can raise that issue now, and we'll ask the Dr. Parker to respond to that. But you can ask that question now.
Okay,
So
my question is.
the concern you have or an interest you have is there a crematorium?
Right, and if there is, will it have state-of-the-art pollution control facilities associated with it to maintain the air quality in the immediate area?
Okay, that's your concern. Thank you, sir. Okay, that's all the people who signed up. Anyone else want to say something? Please come up and say something if you would like to, sir. State your name, please.
I'm Peter Brett with Coldwell Banker Commercial Cane. I'm the listing agent on this and represent Wells Fargo. I just wanted to state one thing. It's been great working with Monica and her team. They've been very diligent with all the meetings with the county and everybody. I would like to say the majority of the interest on this property has been from restaurant users. I've spoken with Kevin a few times about that, but Wells Fargo felt like this was the best and most appropriate use out of all of the offers and the proposals that we had gotten to. So I just wanted to let y'all know that.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Way out of my comfort zone.
We haven't been to anyone yet.
I'm Laura Kennymore with Kennymore Kennels, and I just wanted to say to kind of ease your concerns on the outside boarding, that Dr. Parker's already reached out to me. I'm within 10 miles, 5 or 10 miles from that facility, to start referring the outside kennel boarding to me. That way that she doesn't have to do the outside boarding, to kind of ease some concerns there. She is looking for other places. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, that's helpful. Anyone else? Don't come up afterward now. Yes, sir. Ma'am, I'm sorry, I didn't see the hand right. Pardon me, I'm very sorry.
Hi, I just want to say I think Monica has been very gracious to
Your
us.
name, please?
Cheryl Matthews.
Cheryl Matthews.
Matthews, yes. She's been very gracious and she's addressed a lot of our concerns, and I appreciate that. I think the one thing we mentioned about the zoning and the outdoor runs and all, I have complete confidence that her, as the owner of this facility, will definitely follow through with all of her promises. But I'm more concerned about the next time when a veterinarian clinic comes in. What about that facility? Is there a way to make sure that the zoning restrictions can be changed so that in the future, we can also know that that will not happen for the next veterinarian that may move into that facility? I think I happen to live in the cove that overlooks the Wells Fargo Bank. There's 4 docks down below, and I'm one of them. And I believe with everything she is committed to, that she will be a very good neighbor for us.
Good. Thank you, appreciate your comment. Any more comments? Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to close comments for now. Before I go back to Dr. Parker, as I understand, any action we take today will stay with the property. It doesn't, just because someone else, another veterinarian comes in, they can't put in something that we didn't allow. So, but your comment was very, very pertinent. Okay, Dr. Parker, would you like to speak to some of the issues that have been raised?
Yes. One thing I want to define boarding, because as I said, I may have a sick animal there. Does boarding mean an animal spending the night there? We need to define that. And then someone else loosely mentioned kennels. I am going to have inside the building kennels to keep animals that are waiting to be seen or waiting for surgery. So we can't restrict having kennels inside. I've got to have some type of enclosure inside to hold those animals. So that's just where logistically, I didn't know how we were going to define those two things. To address the crematory comment, absolutely 100%, I will not have a crematorium on site. That is not something I'm interested in. There is a service, I'm aware, in Oconee County called Tall Pines Crematory that will come to your facility, pick up the animal, and take care of the animal and bring the remains back to the facility. So there will not be a crematory. As far as the collection of waste, I'm going to have the pet trash cans, if you've seen them in your neighborhoods, where the baggies are attached, so the owner can pick them up, but I'm also going to have kennel assistants who will be walking the grounds on a regular basis and picking up that waste. So it will not sit there for a 24-hour period. As far as the lighting is concerned, I'm coming in on the lighting being there. I don't know. I don't think we can take down those lights. I don't want to take down those lights, but I am not opposed to having some type of fast-growing, tall vegetation along the back border. That's fine with me. I just don't know if it's going to be tall enough to reach the lights, because those are tall lights. So, just wanted to address those issues.
You can hang on just a second. I think the statement's been made that the property conforms to Appendix A. At least you think it does. Have we checked that? Have we done anything on that?
Yeah. I think that the reason this is zoned as CCD is based on its prior existence to the accepted.
It existed before we did the zoning there.
Yes.
Appendix A doesn't address shielding of lights, so it's just setback, right?
Direction of lights. They're supposed to be.
Talks about direction of lights, yeah.
But not shielded.
And the lights that are there do point down. They're the LED. I think the bank went to the expense to put in LED lights for the parking lot. I don't know the height of them, but the bank did that.
If it becomes a major issue, would you be willing to work with the neighbors to remedy the situation?
Well, I can't put all the lights out. I don't think.
No, ma'am, I understand that.
Yeah.
There's a shield that you can put on.
Yeah.
On the light.
Okay.
You're owned by the property, they're not utility.
No, they're owned by the
They're
property.
owned by the property, but you can put shields on.
Okay.
Would you like to define boarding?
I just don't want to restrict a dog being able, or a cat being able to spend the night there if it's had surgery. That's my issue.
Understand.
So,
Well, the issue, as I understand it, would be out, outdoor
Right.
access for dogs who are not restrained on a leash. Is that what the issue is? I wouldn't read that's what the issue is, and I guess you can say, we have the option to put that kind of restriction in.
And I'm fine with that.
How about cats? You gonna board cats overnight for a week?
Would that really affect anybody?
I don't want, I guess, what I'm asking is, if we say no boarding, then that restriction, no cats too.
Yeah,
It's outdoors.
Yeah,
So outdoor, so we want to get to outdoor, okay,
It's
so
outdoors.
I'm just trying to get straight what we're gonna say, guys. That's all I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
If we're gonna say something, let's say it right.
yes.
No, it's-
No outdoor free access or outdoor runs or no dogs out in the fence without being on a leash with a person attached.
You all be thinking about how you want to word this.
Yeah, we're not gonna let the cats out.
Let me see. And no daycare, no doggy daycare?
No, there's no room for that.
Okay.
It's a 3,000 square foot building, so,
We have apartments over there.
yeah.
Okay, does the board have any questions of Dr. Parker? Yes, by all means.
How do you plan to dispose of the medical and fecal waste?
So the medical waste has to legally, in the state of South Carolina, has to be put into a medical receptacle, and there's a company that I pay to come pick it up. The other waste will go into the trash can, and then that has to, just like it would at your house,
Go to the
flush down the toilet. I mean, it won't be hosed. There are not going to be drains in the floor of the clinic. Some clinics are built that way. It would be not cost effective for me to do that. I would have to dig up the entire cement slab in order to do that type of drainage, and that's not cost effective.
But also, would it be safe to say that you're not going to provide any, basically what you're saying is you're not going to be providing any boarding services to the outside public? All you're going to do is keep the animals for whatever the duration is of the medical procedure that applies to them.
Right.
Two questions. One, in one place it's called the Kiwi Animal Hospital, another place I've seen reference to a clinic. Is it important that we define it? Is it a clinic or a hospital?
Because there may be animals there overnight, I'm going to have it called Kiwi Animal Hospital.
Okay.
A clinic to me is more like a vaccine clinic, and we're going to be much more than that, so.
And then the other question that was asked, in terms of future use, if you decide you've had a successful business, you retire, somebody else buys it, and now they take over the hospital, and they now want to have kennels, or they want to have outdoor runs, or change the use, do we need to, if we approve this, do we need to specify specifically what things cannot be done as that use, as a hospital? Is that the only way that it will restrict a future owner?
I think we need to put a restriction on our approval. It's the question I was asking staff was if we approve this with restrictions, does it apply to this property and any other properties, any other owners? And it does.
If we specify that as part of our motion.
We're just going to grant a special exception to this property, and it'll extend through whatever owners there are.
It lives in perpetuity, I understand, whatever restrictions you put on it.
Any restrictions would continue, would follow it to successor owners.
If a future owner wanted to change it, they'd have to come back to you guys.
Yes, oh yes, it could be done, but through the proper channels. Does that satisfy you, Bill? Or?
Well, the only thing I'm trying to understand is if you're not here now and somebody else, you've retired and somebody else takes over the business, an animal hospital very well could have those other services that are restricted that you can't do. But what would prevent somebody to say, hey, it's an animal hospital, why couldn't I have a dog run or outside?
Because we have the freedom, once we get to discussion, we have the freedom, we have the freedom to restrict it to this property, that you can't have outside dog runs, that kind of thing.
Okay, all right.
So the condition is in perpetuity.
Right, okay.
Does that
And
make
then the
sense?
ring would be full of people that are against it rather than for it.
Yeah. We would not have a friendly audience.
Right,
That's right.
true. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Dr. Parker, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's now up to us to discuss this and decide. Do I sense that we're all generally in favor of this proposal, this request?
Sir,
Okay, so,
you do have the email comments? that-
oh, yes, thank you. We have emails here, 15 emails, generally in support, and generally all echoed the comments made that you don't want any access to the outside with dog access out, dog runs, that kind of thing. So, I won't bother us all with reading them because they're all generally follow the tone of what was presented tonight. Does that satisfy you?
Thank you, yes.
Okay, so, how about before we start making motions, how about we decide how we're gonna word the motion, how we're gonna word what we're gonna ask for? Who wants to take a stab at that?
Since I was the one that was kind of concerned about it, to me, one, we want to call it an animal hospital.
I think she's calling it a hospital,
Right.
it's a hospital, yeah.
And to me, the only restriction would be that there can't be any outside runs or outside kenneling of animals. I think those are the two things.
I think, I would think that we could use the 4 points that were in the letter, that outside dog runs, boarding of pets on the premises, dog kennels on the premises, and
The one negative,
Yeah.
but again, she
and
said,
subject to those
but
restrictions.
she said she will have to have kennels on the inside. I think the outside's the big thing.
Outside, yeah, it'd be outside kennels.
Stipulate.
My direction would be just make it outside, let her,
Yeah.
if she wants to
Outside,
board cats
yeah.
inside, I don't think anyone's got a problem with that. Well, okay, the next owner, the next vet,
Yeah.
who's a cat lover and wants to do cats,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's a problem, we don't
You
need
could
to.
just say pet kennels outside, yeah,
Outside,
outside,
yeah.
just, I think that's where everybody's has to make sure they would have a problem, if you got dogs outside barking, but, and cats, if they meow loud enough. But mainly dog, but you could just say pets and have them know outside,
Dog pet kennels on
kenneling or boarding.
on exterior of
something like
the,
that.
on the exterior of the premises. Right.
So let's go through our 4 questions, and then we'll make a motion at the end, and we'll make sure we put get the correct wording on the restrictions. Okay, first question is in accordance with the comprehensive plan and consistent with the spirit, purposes, and the intent and specific requirements of this chapter to include the definition and intent of the district in which the special exception is being requested. Could I have a motion in the affirmative, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
And it's definitely within the statement of the Oconee County plan, comprehensive plan.
Sure.
There's a need, and there's a specified use to be able to be allowed for an animal hospital in the plan, so I think it fits that perfectly.
And as our real estate person mentioned, it may be a better use than others that might possibly wind up there. Might be a more agreeable use to the neighborhoods.
True, good point.
So, have a motion and a second in the affirmative. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We have 6-0 in affirmative. Is the request in the best interest of the county, the convenience of the community, and the public welfare? Can I have a motion, please? In the affirmative.
So moved. Second?
Who'd you get on that one? Who'd you get on that first one? Who made the motion?
I don't keep record of it.
I made the motion.
Okay, I'll second it then.
John made the motion. I didn't hear who made the second. You said, okay, we have
They
a,
both motioned at the
Big
same
motion,
time, so somebody.
that's why I was asking.
any discussion? Okay, all in favor that this is in the best interest? Please raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have 6-0 approved. Is suitable for the property in question and designed, constructed, operated, and maintained so as to be in harmony with and appropriate in appearance to the existing or intended character of the general vicinity. Can I have a motion in the affirmative, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved in a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Approved 6-0. Finally, is suitable in terms of effects on highway traffic, parking, and safety, with adequate access arrangements to protect streets from undue congestion and hazards. Could I have a motion to the affirmative, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? think as she stated, it sounds reasonable to me, the location isn't gonna cause any more traffic.
Probably less rather than more.
And as we stated before, it could be more, have less effects than other possible uses for that property. Okay, all in favor, please say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Approved, 6-0. Okay, now. Just trying to get a sequence right here. Based on the evidence presented to the board, do I hear a motion that the proposed special exception be approved with the following condition?
So moved.
Well, let's get the condition.
Don't get carried away.
Who wants to take a stab at the following condition?
Just can't win.
Say with no outside boarding or kennel facilities.
Well, I think it needs to say no boarding other than surgery patients.
Well, he said outside.
Yeah, no outside.
Well,
That's what everybody's complaining about. They don't want it outside.
okay, but I'm saying no outside kennels or runs, no doggy daycare needs to be added too.
Yeah.
That'll make everybody
Does staff have
happy.
any recommendations?
It's got to be specific, we've figured that out.
Okay, so, I agree. So we're saying,
No outside.
be approved, providing there are no outside boarding, kennels, or doggy daycare,
Or dog run.
or dog runs. Doggy daycare, dog runs.
I think it needs to be boarding, kennels, runs, and then the doggy daycare.
Okay, boarding, dog runs.
You can't
Why
run.
don't you just say pets instead of identifying dogs? You may have some kind of pet, some might have a license if they want to, you know? You hadn't exempt them, so just say pets.
Outside pet, okay, I
Yeah,
we can go
pets,
with that.
let's don't be,
Rabbit or something.
Don't be,
let's don't pick on dogs.
that's right, or guinea pigs.
Okay.
Like guinea pigs,
We don't want,
hogs.
Here's what I got. So,
No, that's too big.
based on the evidence presented to the board, do I hear a motion that the proposed special exception be approved with the restrictions that there are no outside boarding, pet runs, kennels, doggy daycare,
Not doggy,
So moved.
pet daycare.
Pet daycare.
pet daycare?
Pet run.
Okay, pet daycare. Okay, let me get it straight again, so we got it right on the record. No outside boarding, pet runs, kennels, pet daycare, period.
Okay, I think we need to go back. It needs to say outside kennels because she
Yeah, outside.
specified she needs inside kennels.
Yeah.
Okay,
Definitely outside is the concern that people have.
let me try one more time. No outside boarding, pet runs, outside kennels, pet daycare.
So moved.
I'm gonna go outside normal procedure. Doctor, is that okay? If it meets your needs?
Yes, thank you. And
Okay.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second? Okay, we've already discussed any discussion.
I don't think we discussed it.
We all okay?
We're all okay.
Okay. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye. And 6-0 approved. Take a motion to adjourn.
So